Ever loved a movie so much you couldn't wait to own it? You tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, just anyone who would listen. Once it's released, you rush over to possess it, excited to relive the experience. But in the end, it only sits and collects dust. This time, I'll be unwrapping them.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's time for another Unwrapped review, and today I will be unwrapping Tales of Halloween. But before we get started in this review, I just want to give a special shout out to my lovely Muddy Cult patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to become a Muddy Cult patron, you can join by clicking the link in the description below. I also place it at the end of the video. Also, if you haven't done so already, please hit that red subscribe button, make it gray so you can see when I post videos on this channel, because sometimes I sneak a little extra something on this place. So, as spooky season is upon us as I'm filming this, and maybe I'll be posting this during spooky season, doesn't really matter, I'm already in the spirit. And this definitely got me in the spirit. It is Tales of Halloween. I believe I showed this in a haul video for Texas Frightmare weekend. I don't remember what year. It might have been 2019 the first year, or 2018 the first year I went, or 2019. I'll put a card somewhere in the corner and you can check that out. It doesn't really have much of a description on the back. It just says that this is the ultimate Halloween anthology, 11 top directors' sin-chilling tales, one unforgettable Halloween night. So I'm just gonna go down each story and give like a little review on it, and then at the end, I guess I'll pick which were my favorite shorts and, you know, give you an overall thought process on this movie. Obviously I have it on Blu-ray. I think this is the only version that they had at the booth that I bought it at. And I was just like, yeah, this seems pretty good. It has, you know, a certified fresh Rotten Tomato stamp on it, so I'm like, this is probably a pretty good, entertaining thing, and so far I've enjoyed a lot of the horror anthologies that I've checked out over the years. So I'm going to start with the very first short, which they do list the name of the shorts on the back as well as the directors. So the first short they show is called Sweet Tooth, is directed by Dave Parker. And I'm just going to be reading off my notes that I wrote because I was like cleaning and watching, and I just kind of scribbled a short little thing. Sweet Tooth follows this babysitter who's watching a kid who's just, you know, eating his candy and whatever. The boyfriend comes and scares them, and then he tells the both of them this, you know, this mythology, this lore about Sweet Tooth, this kid who wanted to eat his candy, his Halloween candy, because he was so excited, but his parents wouldn't let him eat any of the candy. Every Halloween they told him no, he can't eat the candy. And one night he decided to see why his parents didn't want him to eat the candy, and saw that his parents was eating his candy. So he decided to take matters into his own hands and killed his parents. So he started eating his Halloween candy and he craved more. So he ate the candy from his parents' stomachs. So if you come across Sweet Tooth, you better give him all of your candy, or he'll find a way to get that candy. So from what I put down in my notes, I put that this, you know, concept was nothing new, but I thought it was very entertaining as well. I thought it was pretty standard for a horror theme anthology to have, you know, that whole, or even just horror movies. I've seen quite a handful of this concept before, where you have a babysitter watching a kid, and either the babysitter or the boyfriend that's not supposed to be there tells the kid this scary story about this boogeyman type character that comes and takes something or wants something from you, and if you don't give them that thing, they'll kill you, kind of concept. I thought it was entertaining overall, very succinct, short. So how it ended, is kind of unique. I mean, I thought that was kind of different, and I liked how it ended, so I thought this one was a good short. It just didn't really, I don't know, just the whole concept, I've seen it before, but the way they ended it was a little bit different. The second short is called The Night Billy Raised Hell by Darren Lynn Bosman. I have seen quite a few of Darren Lynn Bosman's stuff. I've probably seen some stuff from some of these other people. Their names just don't look familiar. I don't really keep up with directors, unfortunately. But he has done quite a few, I think like 2, 3, maybe 4 Saw movies. He's also done Rebo the Genetic Opera and some other movies. So I kind of had a little bit of expectation of like, this is probably going to be pretty good, but I think some of his work, sometimes hit and miss, but most of the time they're pretty hit. So this one follows this teenage couple and a little kid that they're watching, and they're, walking down doing, they're just supervising the kid trick-or-treating, and they're like, oh, don't go to this house is cursed, this guy hates Halloween, and somehow he gets tricked into going into the house, and then he's stuck there with this guy, and the guy, I kind of was not completely paying attention because I was cleaning my room at the same time, and somehow this guy takes pity on the kid and takes him around, and he caused a lot of hell in the neighborhood, just lots of chaos, and the way it ends is kind of, comedic, but also kind of sad, and I don't know, what I put was that the short was, it was kind of funny, it had its funny moments a little bit, more of like that's funny, not like, rolling on the floor laughing, and then I put that, in the end, I thought the short was kind of confusing, kind of meh. I don't know if it was because of the story or because I was kind of like not 100% paying attention to what was going on. Like I said, I was cleaning my room at the same time I was watching it. The next short is called Trick by Adam Girosh. I probably said his name wrong, I'm sorry. There is a group of adults in a house. One of them is getting high, smoking a bong, and the other people are just, drinking alcohol, just enjoying the holiday, and then they hear a doorbell, one of them comes up, to give candy to the kids, and then I think another time when he comes to the door to give candy to the kids, it's this one girl dressed up as a little witch, and she decides to stab him in the stomach and says, "Trick." And then it just all goes downhill from there. And I really like this version. I really like this short quite a bit. I think this is one of my favorites. I wrote that it was a twist on trick-or-treating that was satisfying, which I totally agree. I mean, I did write it, but yeah. I still feel that way. It was very satisfying as things progress in the story, because you don't expect that these children who are, trying to kill these adults are just, doing it for no reason, but there's a reason, a very sinister reason that you would have never thought of, and I really enjoyed this one. So yeah, this one's definitely one of my favorites. The fourth short is called The Weak and the Wicked by Paul Solet, about these 3, they're not really gang members, but they're kind of like those bullies that always, pick on people during Halloween. They want their candy and all this other stuff, and they come across this one guy with like a helmet with horns on it, and he shows them a picture of this monster that can be summoned in Halloween, and so they think nothing of it, and they start chasing him. And surprise, surprise, something happens later, and they get what's coming to them, and I thought it was a very interesting concept. I said that it was short, sweet, and bloody, which it really definitely was. I thought the female actress in it, I forgot her name, I thought she was gorgeous. Her eyes are just very mesmerizing. I thought she did a very good job, being the leader of this little threesome here. And I also realized at this point, because of the story before it with Trick, I was like, you know what? Some of these seem oddly familiar. And as I typed in the name of this movie into IMDb, because when I watch movies, I type the movies into IMDb so I can rate it right afterwards, and then throw it in the letterbox, and also throw it into the blog of list of movies I've seen throughout the year, and I realized I have already seen this movie before. And that's why things seemed so familiar, or vaguely familiar to me. If you don't know, I don't know if a lot of people go back to my January 1st or 2nd post where I put, here are the movies I watch every year. But I watch over 200 movies a year, so sometimes it happens where I'm like, you know what, I've never seen that before. And then when I watch it and then I go back to IMDb and see that I rated it, I'm like, oh, apparently I have seen this. This has happened with Gothica. I didn't think I've seen it. I had a feeling that I did, but I didn't remember, but apparently I have seen it, so that's what happened with Tales of Halloween. So this is definitely when I realized that I have seen this anthology before. But moving on to the 5th short, which is called Grim Grinning... Ooh, this is a hard one. Grim Grinning Ghosts by Axela Carolyn. Ooh, it's a hard one to say. This one is where there was a group of adults at a Halloween party, and a very familiar face by the name of Lynn Shay, who is been in, I think, all of the Insidious movies. She was also in 2001, or, yeah, 2001 Maniacs or something like that. Oh, I know it's in this book, hold on. Yeah, 2001 Maniacs, which I've reviewed. And some other horror movies. She's known to be a horror movie actress. She's telling this tale about this ghost, this grinning ghost, and honestly, I kind of missed the whole story thing. But obviously, this ghost appears. I really enjoyed the suspense in this short. It was just very well paced and had me on edge, and it kind of took me away from what task I was doing around my room. I really enjoyed the lyrics that were playing in Lynn Shay's character's daughter's car. It was just kind of like, oh, like, I forgot the name of the song, but it's like, I'll be watching you, I'm always behind you, I will never leave you for eternity, or something like that. And I thought that was very ominous, and I really liked that, and I was just really expecting like something or someone to be in the backseat of her car. And there was just a lot of build up, and I thought it was very satisfying how it paid off later. So definitely also in one of the favorites, of course. Probably not my absolute favorite, but it's definitely in one of the favorites of the shorts in this anthology. Next is a short called Ding Dong by Lucky McKee. This one has Pollyanna McIntosh. She's just, I had to look her up, and I was just like, this woman looks very familiar. She is in, I know her more from The Walking Dead, so I'm sure I've seen her in some other stuff, but that's the first thing that popped in my head. But it does an interesting twist on the Hansel and Gretel tale. The husband, I'm assuming husband or boyfriend or partner, whatever, comes to her and in this dressed up as Hansel, and I think they had a dog, because I remember them mentioning a dog and dressed up as Gretel. This the girl. And then all of a sudden she turns into this like evil witch character all of a sudden, and then she really gets into this like witchy character, and all of these trick-or-treaters keep coming to the door, and it just kind of repeats the same routine of her pushing up her bosoms and her dress, making a little bit more cleavage, you know, getting the Hansel character to the door with the bowl of candy, going through the same like lines and stuff of like, oh yeah, I love children, da da da, and I ate Gretel, and then she pulls out this like ear connected to like, there's like a braid and ear that she pulls out of her mouth, and she keeps doing this gag over where she's getting more and more into it, and it was just a fun little time. I was enjoying this one quite a bit. Also, another one that I could add in, like, favorite shorts in this anthology. The next one is called This Means War. This was directed by Andrew Cash and John Skip. This story follows these two neighbors. One neighbor is one of those neighbors that does, like, Halloween decorations, like, every year. It's like the same theme or something. He's just really into it. He had like a skeleton, and he had like a that would talk, but it would be talking in his voice. Like, he would make a voice and make it talk, so he had like a little headset, and if he talked, the skeleton would talk too. And these new neighbors across the street that seem kind of like almost like metalheads. They're like on a different plane of like Halloween. They're like loud, obnoxious, and everything's gotta be like gruesome and stuff. And he comes over there and complains like, your music's too loud, you need to tone it down. And the other guys are like, you need to relax, you go over there, grandpa. And they have a fight over the whole decoration situation. So it does turn, so it's not just that, but I thought this was very amusing, very funny. I like the jabs that they put on each other, the links of how it slowly snowballed to an even more serious fight, because like the people that were at the party start placing bets on the fight, on who was gonna win and stuff, and I thought this was a very fun short. The next one is called Friday the 31st by Mike Mendez. This one, obviously, if you could tell by the title, is kind of a little spoofer of like Friday the 13th. We have this like final girl running away from this mass killer, and he's deformed under the mask just like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. And she doesn't survive. There is no final girl. And then you think everything's all done, but all of a sudden the masked killer looks up into the sky as this bright beam of light lands on him, and an alien comes down with little pumpkin costume holding a little treat pail saying trick or treat very cutely, and he's like really tiny, he's claymated, and I love it. I love claymation so much. And he doesn't really understand. He's like, I don't have anything, and the aliens keep saying trick or treat, and he gets so annoyed that he squishes the alien with his foot and moves on. He's like, done. But he's not really done with this alien. I also really enjoyed this short as well. It definitely has a comedic spin on the whole alien thing and the Friday the 13th. I wrote down that it's like that the hunter becomes the hunted, with a little bit of comedy. Like, the comedy does not end. It continues to go throughout the film. It does get a little gory and bloody, but I mean, at the end, it has a little funny dig in there, and I really enjoy this. Definitely another favorite. The next one is called The Ransom of Rusty Rex by Ryan Schufrin. Sorry if I said your name wrong. These two kidnappers, or two bad guys in a van, they are stalking this one kid in a devil costume, which you see like earlier in the short. There's a lot of like tie-ins to all the other shorts with, you know, little Easter eggs. Sometimes you see trick-or-treaters in one short and they show up later in another short, or little occurrences that have happened show up later in other shorts as well, which I'll mention later. This trick-or-treater, he was in a previous short or two. I remember seeing like the emblem or the patch that was on the back of his little devil costume was in another short, and I think this little devil was also in the night Billy raised hell. I think he's in that one too. But these two kidnappers or whatever are stalking this specific child, and they decide to kidnap him and call this very rich guy and try to extort money from him for the son. Surprise, surprise, the dad doesn't want him. He's like, oh, you have him? I don't care. Keep him. And hangs up. And they were so baffled, like, did this guy just hang up on me? Let me call him back. Do you realize that we have your son? You better give us the... What the heck? He hung up again. And then the kid breaks out of, like, he was tied to a chair, but he disappears, he runs away, and they realize there's something unusual about this kid. I thought this was very funny. This was, as I wrote down, a comedic kidnapping gone wrong. And that is definitely what sums up the whole plot of this short, and I really enjoyed this one as well. I thought it was very funny how far they go with this kidnapping scheme and how they how far they try to solve their little kidnapping problem, because it doesn't go the way that they wanted to, obviously. I really like this one. This was a good one. I'm slowly realizing that, like, the shorts progressively get better and better as the anthology goes on, so as I'm talking and reviewing it. The final short on in this anthology is called Bad Sea by Neil Marshall. This one, it felt a little longer than the other shorts, but they might have all been around the same runtime. I'm not really sure. I mean, overall, this is just, you know, an hour and a half. It's hour 37 minutes long altogether, but this one just felt like the longest. This one just goes straight into it. There's this married couple. They're about to go to a Halloween party. The husband just finished carving the last pumpkin. He's very proud of it. The wife is just like, oh yeah, it really looks good, and so she's like, well, hurry up, honey, go get your costume on, we'll head off to the party. She leaves the kitchen, she comes back, Pumpkin is biting his head off, just, he's fighting with this jack-o'-lantern that he created, and then once he detaches it from his being, which takes his whole head, the pumpkin runs away, and now we have this detective mystery investigation going on of them trying to find this killer pumpkin, which they're like, there's no way. There's no way. But in fact, it is. And as I was saying earlier with the Bad Seed short, they do mention, like, two of the cops come into the office and they're covered in chocolate, and the main character, the main character of the short is like, what happened to you guys? Oh, well, we just got done going to this kid's house who is covered in chocolate, who ate all his Halloween candy or whatever, and killed 2 people or whatever. It was a reference to the very first short, Sweet Tooth, which I really enjoy, the little, you know, droppings of, like, these things are kind of connected, they're kind of in the same universe. It's kind of like Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat, like, all of the stories are linked together, but you don't realize it till, like, you really, like, pay attention to certain little details, and especially at the end you're like, these are all linked together, which is pretty cool. They're not just linked together because it's Halloween, but there's a sprinkling of, like, they're all in the same universe, probably. But anyway, I put that it got right into the horror, as I said, because I mentioned what happens in it, and I said that it turned into a mystery with a reference to the first story, which is what I mentioned. So I really like this shift from, like, horror to mystery, and I like the mystery elements, and how it ended was very interesting, and, you know, was it omniscient or whatever, it's very ominous. So it makes me think of Little Shop of Horrors a little bit. There you go. So overall, I enjoyed rewatching Tales of Halloween, even though I forgot that I watched it until I got to a certain point, and I was like, oh yeah, I have seen this. Tell me what you guys think of Tales of Halloween if you've seen it before. Tell me what your favorite short was if you have seen it before. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.